So in my last video, we talked about how there were less than 3 weeks to go until the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct in April. Now, there's actually less than 2 weeks left until we finally get to see the show. It's definitely exciting to know that all the information surrounding the console, launch day games, and the broader launch year lineup is right around the corner. The wait between the January reveal and the April 2nd Direct is almost over, and I think I speak for most of us when I say, I can't wait to see what's coming. But even with the show so close, there are still a few big questions left. And one of the most important ones is, how long will the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct actually be? Because the length of the show could give us a clue about how much content, news, and gameplay we'll be seeing. Personally, I'm hoping for a longer show because I really want to learn everything, from what the system can do, what the UI looks like, any brand new features, and of course trailer after trailer for new games. I especially want to see a big blowout trailer for Metroid Prime 4, Beyond. So, that brings us to a natural question. Will Nintendo let us know in advance how long the Direct will be? I'm going to go on record and say yes. I think they will. Luckily, history is kind of on our side here. Most of the time, when Nintendo announces a Direct, usually through a tweet, they include the runtime. It's often something like, tune in tomorrow for a 40-minute Nintendo Direct focused on games launching this fiscal year. That's a pretty common format for them. Now, they don't always share the runtime ahead of time, but more often than not, they do. Whether it's 30, 40, or 45 minutes, they usually set expectations in advance, and I think they'll do the same for this one. If you look at the timeline of how they've handled the build-up to this Direct, it's been a slow but steady drip of information. It was around last May, I believe, when they first hinted that they'd share news about the Switch successor within the fiscal year. Then, months later, they mentioned the console would support some form of backwards compatibility, not related to the Direct itself, but still meaningful info. Then in January, we got the official reveal and confirmation that a Direct would happen on April 2nd. More recently, they gave us the exact time, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For me, living on the West Coast, that means I've got to wake up super early to watch it, probably still dark out. Not looking forward to that part, but at least I'll be able to catch it live and maybe even record a reaction video before starting my workday. All that to say, Nintendo has been following a consistent pattern in how they're rolling this out. So with less than 2 weeks to go, I think there's a good chance that sometime in the next week, they'll send out another tweet or post saying, the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd will be 45 minutes long, or an hour, or whatever it ends up being. I don't know for sure. This is just my prediction, but I think they'll give us that info. Now, the next question is, how long should the Direct be? If we look back to January 2017, it was a different kind of event, a live stage presentation from Japan with press in the audience, studio heads, and even developers from third-party companies. Koizumi was on stage showing off the Joy-Cons. Kimishima addressed the audience, and we got a few game trailers. Mario Odyssey, 1-2 Switch, Shin Megami Tensei V, and the big blowout for Breath of the Wild, complete with a launch date and pricing, all packed into about an hour. That said, this year's event is a standard Nintendo Direct. It's not live, it's pre-recorded, and that format naturally allows for a more efficient, concise presentation. So do they need a full hour? Maybe not, but I still hope it's an hour, because that gives them enough time to be thorough. Announcing a release date and price takes like 10 seconds. What I really want is time dedicated to showing off the UI, the system's features, updates to the eShop, what the Joy-Cons can do, and of course, lots of games. If they decide to highlight a major game like Metroid Prime 4, Beyond with a 2 to 3 minute trailer, and then spend 5 to 10 minutes talking with the devs, maybe even Kensuke Tanabe himself, that's going to eat up a good chunk of time. And if they do this for multiple games, even more time. But personally, I'm more than okay with that. I want a detailed, well-paced presentation that dives deep into all things Switch 2. Still, if they do announce the runtime, and it turns out to be only 40 or 45 minutes, I'm not going to panic or be disappointed. Because a Direct, unlike a live show, is tightly edited. No awkward transitions or pauses. Everything is streamlined. So what might take an hour or more on stage could easily be compressed into 40 to 45 minutes in a direct. So yeah, I hope it's an hour. I'm ready for a long, content-packed show. But even if it's not that long, I trust they can still deliver what we need to know in a shorter time frame. To sum it all up, the big questions are, how much time will they spend showing the UI and system features? Will they go in depth on new functions, Joy-Con upgrades, eShop changes, online services, maybe even that rumored mouse-like feature? And most importantly, how many games will they show? Will it be 3 or 4, or more like 7 to 10? I think most of us are hoping for the higher end, 7 to 10 games. You could easily spend the first 20 minutes going over the system, covering the UI, controllers, eShop, online service, and so on. Then, take 10 to 15 seconds to announce the price and release date, and spend the remaining 30 minutes focused on games. That could include trailers and maybe some dev interviews for Metroid, Mario Kart, a new Mario game, a new IP, Donkey Kong, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, whatever they're ready to show at the beginning of this new generation. So that's what I think. When it comes to both what we can expect and how long it will be, I'm leaning toward yes. I do think they'll tell us the runtime beforehand. It helps set expectations. If people are expecting an hour and it turns out to be 30 minutes, they'll be disappointed. If they expect 30 and it's longer, they might not have time to watch. So there are more reasons to share the length than not to. But hey, maybe April 2nd comes, and we're all waking up with no clue how long the direct is going to be. It's possible they'll keep it a surprise, but I'm going to err on the side of caution and predict they'll let us know in advance. So yeah, I hope it's an hour, but I'm ready for anything. I'm excited for the show. Share your thoughts in the comments. And, as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Now, something else that's been on my mind, and I think it's worth bringing up, is what kind of tone Nintendo will go for in this direct. Because depending on that, it could impact the pacing and what they choose to focus on. Are they going for a hype-fueled, punchy showcase full of back-to-back game trailers? Or will it be more of a comprehensive breakdown, like, here's everything you need to know before launch? Those are two very different kinds of presentations. If they're trying to hit the ground running with a massive push to sell pre-orders, or just hit the gaming world buzzing, then yeah, they might lean harder into fast-paced trailers and surprises. But if their goal is more about clarity, explaining new tech, introducing the ecosystem, walking people through why this is more than just a Switch Pro, then we might see longer segments dedicated to specific features or games. That brings me to another point, the possibility of third-party involvement. This is something we saw back in the 2017 event. They had developers from Square Enix, Sega, and others talk about their plans for the original Switch. If Nintendo wants to send a message that they've got solid third-party support from day one again, I wouldn't be surprised if they dedicate part of the direct studios like Capcom, Ubisoft, maybe even Atlas or EA, showing off what's coming to the new system. A third-party montage could easily add 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how deep they go. And if we get something like Monster Hunter, or a surprise Persona 6 teaser, or some kind of new cloud-based game that takes advantage of upgraded hardware, that all adds more time and more excitement. Now, something I also want to see, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, is a demo of the UI in action. Not just a static image or someone describing it off-screen. I want someone to actually boot up the system, navigate through the menus, jump into the eShop, maybe demonstrate how quick it is to resume a game or switch profiles. I want to know if themes are finally coming, if the dashboard's getting a fresh coat of paint, if folders are a thing. You know, all the stuff we've been asking for since like 2018. And honestly, if they dedicate even 5 solid minutes to walking through the user experience, that would already go a long way in setting the tone for what kind of leap this is over the original Switch. Also, and this might be a bit of a hot take, I kind of hope they don't try to cram in too many smaller announcements just for the sake of it. I'd rather they pick a handful of meaningful, high-impact games and give each one room to breathe. Like, if we're finally getting that Donkey Kong game that's been rumored for years, give it a real trailer. Maybe a short dev interview or behind-the-scenes look. Let land. Same thing goes for something like Mario Kart. If this is the next full entry in the franchise and not just a deluxe expansion, then yeah, it deserves its own big moment. Same with any brand new IP they might unveil. If they've got something totally fresh and original to kick off this generation, give it space to shine. Oh, and speaking of launch lineup, I really hope they clarify which games are coming day one and which are part of the launch window, because sometimes those lines get blurred. If the system is dropping in, say, September, and a game's coming in December, sure, that's still launch window. But I'd love for them to be really clear. These are the games you can play the day you buy the Switch 2. These others are coming in the following weeks or months. That helps manage expectations and lets people plan their purchases better. And you know what else? I want to see Nintendo lean into their online service a bit. If there are improvements to NSO or a new structure entirely, now's the time to tell us. Are we getting GameCube games? Are cloud saves more seamless? Is there a more competitive online ecosystem coming? Especially if Smash Bros. Or Mario Kart are getting sequels. That part of the Switch has always felt a little undercooked, and I'd love to see them finally step it up. So when you add all of that up, UI overview, Joy-Con and system feature demos, trailers for first-party games, highlights from third parties, NSO improvements, and maybe some dev commentary. Even without fluff, you're easily looking at a 45 to 60-minute presentation. And again, I'd be totally fine with that. I think most of us are. This isn't just another Direct. This is the Direct that's going to shape the next 5 to 7 years of Nintendo's future. It deserves time. But what do you think? Are you hoping for a long, detailed show? Or do you prefer something short and sweet that gets to the point? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always curious how the community is feeling heading into big moments like this. Alright, that's going to do it for now. Thanks again for hanging out.